The Biden administration waives federal laws to allow border wall construction in Texas. The announcement follows pressure from top Democratic officials to address the overwhelming influx of migrants in the past year. So this was the policy that liberals said made Donald Trump a unique ethnic fascist. The wall. You had AOC doing photo ops at the wall. Now you have Biden, who approved and going to continue the border wall. So you want to know the people who are probably the dumbest people in politics? One of the dumbest people in politics? The people on the right that is pretending that we have an open border, that Joe Biden is just allowing people in. You guys got to understand, there is no neoliberal police state solution to immigration, whether a Republican is in charge or a Democrat. Joe Biden is funding DHS and border protection $6 billion more than Donald Trump, ladies and gentlemen. So when you hear Marjorie Taylor Greene, Matt Gaetz, Donald Trump, and other dumbass Republicans pretend that Joe Biden has an open border, they are deeply unserious. Joe Biden deported more people than Donald Trump already. And now they're building the wall that Trump couldn't get done. Like Glenn Ford said, the most effective evil is the Democratic Party. And that should be the message that comes from Dr. Cornel West or anyone who's waging an independent campaign. No other message is effective and no other message is as true. And that's why I was telling Dr. West, I'm not telling you to lie, fam. I'm telling you to quote the things that you see in here on RBN. There's a reason why we are blacklisted. They will never allow us on their own social democrat channels because they know we will just quote this shit to them and delegitimize their entire politics. Now, CJ, this is the clown shit that comes from the PMC left, social democrats, and Democrat activist group. We were stabbed in the back. Jim Crow Joe stabbed you in the back. Are you serious?
Stabbed in the front. And they handed him the knife.
Motherfucker, I invited It the clown. I invited It the clown, the serial killer, to my house. I showed him hospitality, and that motherfucker stabbed me in my neck. How dare he betray me? How dare the serial killer? I'm beyond tired of showing leniency to these people. The Sunrise Movement and climate activists put out a statement like Joe Biden betrayed us on approving the Willow Project and other stuff. How many times are you guys gonna do this storyline before we stop taking you seriously? This whole, they stabbed us in the back. The Democrats betrayed us. You guys voted for Jim Crow Joe knowing exactly who the fuck he is. And now you guys talking about you're stabbed in the back. CJ, I think you want to
Nick, at what point is the question then? At what point, Sunrise Movement? At what point, NATO left? At what point is too far? Like NATO left. If he starts a nuclear war, is that too far? Like Sunrise Movement, after the Willow Project, after the other project that was slipped into the debt ceiling for Joe Manchin, I forget, Mountain something out in his area. After the open up the more lands can drill, open up more lands, federal lands for drilling. Like, at what point, Nick, is it okay? You've gone too far. We are climate activists. At what point are they? The people you're working with is literally doing the opposite to what you're doing, and you're still advocating for them. That's the question I have, Nick. Go ahead with this next.
This is why I have no respect for activists who are voting Democrat. Because CJ, what did we say? Well, we had different varying degrees of opinion on this. Like Rome, I would say is to my left, where he says he's completely done with electoral politics altogether. I would say maybe 5 to 15% of our energy should go to electoral politics, right? The rest of it should be building mutual aid societies, community building, and making sure we are taking care of our material needs of us and our community and our family, right? That should be 85%. It makes no sense for you to use that 15% to vote for a party and an oligarch that's going to override the 85% of the activism you're doing. You're a climate activist. You work for Sunrise Movement. You think you're doing great in the world, right? You attend a few rallies and marches. You do some local events. Then you vote for Joe Biden, the Nord Stream pipeline bomber. What the fuck do the other things have to do with anything now? You guys see that? What I'm saying? Why do you delegitimize your 85% of the real activism you do by voting for your fucking enemy? And people like Emma, like, people think voting is the fucking way you feel, is a statement of your character. No, you are trying not to delegitimize your other work. I co-founded 10 Demands. I am against the police state. I want to decrease the influence of the police state. So how does it make sense for me to vote for pro-police state, cop city loving Democrats, right, CJ? That's completely ridiculous. But PMCs are here to lead you off a cliff. That's the thesis of RBN the century at this point. This is beta.
And this is why I always say, let me just say this because you said that about Emma. This is why I always say, when they are telling you, so everybody in the audience, if you're new or you're a drive-by, and that means you just kind of fell into our stream, when you go to listen to them and they say that, I just want somebody to ask the question. Or not necessarily ask the question. Let me give the analysis, and then you can do what you want. The reason they explain that this is for self-preservation. Don't think they're just giving an explanation, Nick. It's for self-preservation because it explains why they're voting for Biden, even though he's against supposedly the things that they really are for. So it's by argument, you're not really for those things. And this is the reason why the left is here, because we have too many people like that who are willing to waffle on issues, willing to make deal on issues because the issues aren't intricately affecting them. So go ahead. Go ahead.
Absolutely, as well said. I'm just showing some more receipts. This from CNN. Biden says border walls don't work as administration bypasses law to build more barriers in South Texas. And by the way, the criminal rogue Biden regime is bypassing 26 federal laws in order to continue to build the border wall. Tell me more about how Donald Trump is a unique factor. Tell me more about how Joe Biden is a threat to the rule of law. I show Glenn's tweet here. Almost done. I'll pass to you, CJ, after the segment.
Yeah,
the Biden administration bypasses 26 federal laws to build additional border wall in South Texas. Absolutely amazing how Dems' immigration views and rhetoric radically changed. The second large numbers of undocumented migrants arrived in blue cities. Now do you guys see why I view and have maximum disdain towards the Democratic Party? What is more of an insult? Republicans is openly being against you? Or are Democrats virtue signaling, inviting George Floyd to the White House and giving the police more money? Right? I think Malcolm X has a famous quote warning you about the fox, right? The Democrats are the fox here. So during Trump, in order to increase their political power, they had to pretend they care about immigration, CJ. They had to pretend about human rights in order to increase their political power. They cared about the crimes of ICE. They cared about inhumane immigration law. Meanwhile, you have Joe Biden that expanded ICE. You had ICE was forcing ICE detainees that was on hunger strike and force feeding them. They was on hunger strike because of inhumane conditions that continued under the Biden administration. You had ICE officials that was beating and sexually assaulting ICE victims, denying them medical treatment. Was this 2018-19? Yes, but it's also 2021, 2022 under Joe Biden. Now they don't care about this issue no more, CJ. All the immigration activists on the left, now all of a sudden they love Joe Biden. Now they praising them because we got to make the city safe. They repeating right-wing talking points on this now. Look, government.
So let's go back.
Let's
go back to the point. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I'll pass right to you. But government's own expert found barbaric and negligent conditions in ICE detention. What's the date on this, fam? August 16, 2023. And this report was during the Biden administration. Go ahead, CJ. You can chime in real quick.
I was gonna say, you see how they're able to flip flop, like when somebody's in office, they're for it or against it, and somebody's out of office, they're not for it. What were we just talking about? Their vote, how it's disconnected. Do they really believe in these policies, Nick, or are they just projecting? Because that's connected. You see how they're explaining it to us. What do you mean? I don't believe in any of the things that Joe Biden believes in. I'm just doing it because I'm doing it as strategy. It's not connected to me. Really? Because if Donald Trump was in office, somehow you would be against whatever is good. I'm just saying, like, the empirical proof, Nick, not in what they're telling us. The actions is saying they don't really believe this stuff, Nick. They don't.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
it's just like the climate crisis where AOC, we're in a climate crisis, but I'm gonna vote for war in the Ukraine.
Right.
Packages. Right? I'm gonna support the Nord Stream pipeline bomber. So here's AOC at the border and her activism when you had Donald Trump that funded ICE less than Joe Biden is funding it now. Deported a lot of people, but less than Joe Biden. But where is the funk that AOC has for Joe Biden for his policy? In fact, they endorsed him. And now progressives are shell-shocked right now because they're like, man, we ain't already endorsed you. You're doing this, making us look bad. What the fuck do you think was going to happen, professional managerial class? When you endorse a right-wing neoliberal a year and a half before the election, what would a decent politician do then? They would shift to the right in order to get the vote they don't already have in the suburbs. If you're already declaring progressive support for them. So this is AOC back in the day, back when she was pretending to care about this issue. CJ, you want to know what her response is now? AOC.
Something establishment. Something establishment.
She went from crying at the border. Now she writes a sternly written letter. She went from calling Donald Trump a racist, fascist, unhinged, authoritarian tyrant. This is all the words that Bernie Sanders and AOC use. And then Joe Biden quite literally copy-pastes and expands Donald Trump's immigration policy. And now she just got a letter. We urge you, please reverse your decision. Switch course, please, Biden.
Oh my God! You see, now let's talk about this. Is a good example.
Yeah, go ahead.
To bring people out of the duopoly. If you're a person whose top issue or top priority is immigration, ICE in particular, or the border wall, any of these issues surrounding you and your family, this is your top issue. This is what you believe in, and you thought voting for a progressive Democrat would get you there. You need somebody to fight. This is going to affect your family. Oh, here's a letter. They wrote a letter for you. Is that enough for you? Writing a letter, is that enough for you? That's what I'm saying. Like, so you can donate money to these people, or they're powered by not the corporations, but not being powered by not the corporations, and then this is their strategy. This is rubbing two sticks together. The example I always give, if somebody tells you, oh, I'm for what you want, yeah, I'm for Medicare for all, and you go, how do you want it? How are we going to get it? I'm going to get these two sticks and start rubbing them together. Aren't you going to look at them like, what? Are you really for it? Because the strategy is indicating you're not. Go ahead, Nick.
This segment is pretty much done. Just shows just a few more receipts on my timeline. This is Zinkis. This is liberals went from abolish ICE to build that wall. Build that wall. Build that wall. You see how when you get them power, they will shift quickly to the right. The Democrats only pretend to care about issues only in order to get political power. They used the death of George Floyd in order to get political power, to increase the power of the police, the people who killed them. And people wonder why I'm uniquely mad at the Democratic Party. You got shit libs like the Vanguard. They're like, why do RBN always attack Democrats? Deeply unserious morons. That's seriously what these fucking morons say. Meanwhile, you got Democrats being openly fascist authoritarians. And then their base goes along with it. They will do a
The
change
cowbell left.
on the dime following their leaders. You will have Biden voters, hardcore Democrats, that will have hashtag Black Lives Matter, hashtag abolish ICE, when a Republican's in charge. Then the second Biden doubles down his policy, now these same people are like, actually, Biden has to do this because we got to get the immigration crisis. All of them sound like Republicans. And this is what progressives don't
exactly
understand.
what they do.
This is what progressives don't understand. These Democratic voters are, and I'm glad RFK Jr. understand this. Marianne Wilson didn't understand this. Nina Turner didn't understand it. Progressive Democrats don't understand that a large portion of the Democratic base is too far gone. The same way Republicans are. And they will just switch their positions based on the will of the establishment. That's why Marianne Wilson never stood a chance. That's why, in hindsight, Bernie never stood a chance. Because all it took was Jim Clyburn to say, fucking vote for Joe Biden, and all these Negroes in South Carolina followed his direction. That is what we had to deal with. So how we advocate RBN is build our own communities, reach out to the 50% voters who don't vote. And if you're a partisan and you swayed by our message, welcome aboard. But not stress on our back. So I'll just read Glenn's last tweet and I'll pass it to you. I think this is long, this segment. Last one from System Update. They spent years claiming that Trump's Hitler-esque border wall. Actually, I just want to watch the video. This 2 minutes. I think this is a good way to end the video, the segment. Let's listen to Glenn's take on this.
Whenever I would press liberals to explain what is it that Trump did that makes him a singular evil, considering, for example, the fact that Trump was the first American president in decades not to involve the United States in a new war. He doesn't have any Iraq war invasions based on false pretenses on his record, no torture regimes or rendition or due process denials in Guantanamo. He didn't change the regimes of Syria and Libya and leave those countries as complete bloodbaths and wrecks the way President Obama did. What is it that Trump did that makes him such a singular evil? Almost always liberals will say that what distinguished Trump from every other American leader and that made him a Hitler figure was his immigration policy, specifically his desire to build a wall and to prevent immigrants from entering the United States illegally in such large numbers. That is almost always what they will point to. And the fact that Trump's wall, the wall that he wanted to build to keep illegal immigrants out, was a racist wall, a tribute to white supremacy, was something that was stated over and over and over, not by random liberals, but by the leaders of the Democratic Party, by governors and mayors and leading media allies of the Democratic Party. This was gospel. It was canon. That Trump's wall was driven by nothing except racism and white nationalism and even Nazism.
Yeah, this is good.
But now, lo and behold, it turns out that Joe Biden and his administration are building that wall. They're extending that wall. They're expanding that wall, the very same wall that Trump wanted to build, that Trump built some of, and that liberals and Democrats spent years insisting was a monument to Nazism. And the reason they're building that wall is because now illegal immigrants, people who are undocumented, are arriving no longer only in border towns in red states like Texas and Arizona, and then seeping their way into parts of the American South or into Oklahoma, or even into California, but they're arriving in the cities, the most important cities to liberals, the cities where they inhabit and reside, where liberal elites live their lives. And now that it's affecting American liberals instead of their enemies, their political enemies, liberals have suddenly gone from, we love immigrants, anybody who wants to limit the amount of immigration to the United States is a racist and a fascist, to Biden, we demand that you do more to keep these people away from us. We don't have any space for them. We can't afford to take care of these people.
Dude, I didn't even think about that. I'm glad I found this clip because
that's what's happening in New York. New York mayor just saying this exactly thing. We don't have the resources.
That's Anna Kasparian regarding.
I thought of her. I was going to say her too.